Talking about dashboards. Dashboards were released at Silverstone, which is the last open day we did back 2 years ago. Time's actually flown, hasn't it? It was a great venue. So just want to bring you up to date with it. If you've not come across dashboards before, we were asked many years ago to create a report writing tool that you guys could edit and change. I think at that time Sage had a sort of little report writing tool that did the basics of creating lists and that sort of thing. To be honest, in a development environment, to create that sort of tool is like creating a massive module within EMiR. So we always stood back from doing that. What happened then was we had a number of customers that started to play with a tool by Microsoft called Power BI. It's been around actually for about 4 years, and it's part of their business intelligence products. And what it does, it sits on the EMiR database, or a database, it can be any database, and it delivers you information, hopefully, before you need it. That's the whole point. So it will sit on your database, and you think, well, if the operations manager needs to know what's been invoiced today, it can send him a list of everything that's been invoiced direct to his mobile phone, or his tablet, or his desktop, wherever you want it. So it's very specific information. It's all about industry answers. You know, the biggest thing when you're in a business or you're sitting in a management meeting is that people say, oh, that's a great bit of information, but what use of that is that to me? Or what's the next question? What's that made up of? What does that figure actually tell us? You know, what is that figure made up of in terms of departments? And that's what Power BI is designed to do, really. It answers the questions that everybody wants to have. So why did we choose it? First and foremost, it was a pre-built environment. We didn't have to create it. All we needed to do was develop our products in it. We know that people around the world are adopting this product, and I'm going to show you different areas where collaboration takes place. There's 1 or 2 little reports that will show you where people have come up with ideas, they've been pulled as kind of like apps that you can download, and people have made use of them. It's easy to connect. It's standard ODBC connectivity that goes directly into the database we have now, and it's certainly compatible with the direction that we're going with EMiR. And it's a set of tools which are drag and drop. You don't necessarily have to have a coding brain on you to sort of put these things together, although you do need some technical skills. So let's talk about dashboards and what we did with it first. Back at the open day at Silverstone, we launched a number of dashboards. Okay, these are the ones that are available now on our homepage. About halfway down, there is a dashboard link, and you can play with them. In the finance one alone, there are 7 variants of profit and loss, balance sheet, cash flow, you name it. There's all sorts of information in there. Stock contains 2 variants. The one at the bottom that we released, CRM revenue, again has got a number of variants within the reports. So there's actually between 20 and 25 different reports we've written as standard. Now, when I spoke to Jack, he said, I was quite amazed. Gary came to see me one day, and he asked me about Power BI and what we were doing, and I got my notebook out, and I showed him the type of reports I wanted. So in true fashion, we went away and we stole all those ideas, and we put them straight in there. But in fairness, it's information that everybody wants. We've looked at it from a point of view of, this is our modules, this is our extensions, and we're giving you information. But as you'll see later, in real life, a lot of people want it more specific. They want it by department, they want it by person. Now, in the packs that you're taking away, there is a piece of prospect marketing that we did called 5 Decisions Made Easier with Dashboards. So I'm going to let you play with these yourself, but this will just give you a good idea. So the first question is, what is our real success rate in closing business? This is the sort of question you get asked at your management meeting. So here is the quoting dashboard. It's written all around that specific module. Notice on the bottom right-hand corner, the pink fields are what are known as slicers or filters. So if I want to see quotes by a certain company, or by a certain salesperson, or by a certain value, we just click the buttons there. You just play with the actual dashboard. Then you notice your pie chart. The pie chart there is saying these are open quotes, rejected quotes, or accepted quotes. What's the next question? Yeah, but Which ones were rejected and why were they rejected? You click on the rejected section and the table on the bottom left-hand side is filtered to show you those items. You can click on them and you can find out more detail about why things were actually rejected. This is the sort of thing that dashboards will give you. Another question, does labour recovery justify our cost? Labour dashboard, that's what you'd expect, isn't it? Filters again on the right-hand side, which are pink, called slices, I keep forgetting that. You can say, right, what periods are we talking about? This month, previous years, whatever you want to look at. But our productive labour is there, and we can see straight away exactly where we are. Now, if you think about it in terms of labour, if you're a company that's recording time on a paper timesheet, like Lara was saying, it might be well after the job has finished before you're able to collate that information and see whether you're productive and profitable. If you're using products like SmartSite, time and attendance, to capture that information and get it into EMiR almost in real time, then the dashboard is giving you a real-time explanation of what's going on. Just one more as an example. Do we risk creating poor service from stock shortfall? You know, there are people out there in the world that set up the minimums and maximums of certain stock items because you don't want to hold too much, it's too costly, and you don't want to hold too few and then you can't supply your customer and you hold up a job. You know, you may lose a customer if you don't deliver on time. So here's a report that's looking at the stock, all the criteria that you're holding in EMiR, and in red it's saying, warning, take a look at these items. Do you want to order them? You know, we've got orders coming along that are going to need these items, and if you don't get them ordered, you're really going to be putting yourself in a dodgy situation. The thing that I like about this is that normally in a business, the person that knows this stock stuff is one person. They've done the job for many years, they kind of understand everything that's going on, and they're dodging around in their mind looking after it. With dashboards, the information is now available to everybody. That person goes on holiday, they've got the ability to make the decisions and at least ask questions. So, a second thing that you'll see, when Gary showed the modules and extensions diagram that we have now, you've got dashboards at one end and you have Task Center at the other. And the reason for that is both of those sit on the data that's in the center of EMiR. And we use a thing called Task Center. Again, it's not something we developed, but it's a product that's been around since the year 2000, which is being proactive with your information. So the first thing it does for us in terms of dashboards, it allows posting behind the scenes. Many of you will know that if you want a up-to-date profit and loss for this month, great, you know, EMiR will do that for you. But what Task Center does in dashboard terms, it makes all those postings hidden in the background. You can have profit and loss balance sheets active right up to the current day, even though you've not done your month-end routines and that sort of thing. So Task Center in terms of finance gives us great opportunities. But Task Center, without giving you a demo of this, is a way of sitting on your data again, and it will tell you as things happen. So say, for instance, a high-value order comes in, somebody types it into EMiR, it instantly sends a message to my mobile phone, either a text or an email, and says, hey, your customer's just ordered something large. I can get on the phone, thank them, check out what the detail of the order was all about. We've even got the facilities down here, for instance, that you can place a purchase order on EMiR, and then what it does is it emails people that are in the list to actually approve it. So the person can deny it, put a reason there, or they can accept it, and the email goes back into Outlook. Task Center picks it up and approves it in the system. So it's about proaction. So if you're thinking that people need to know as things happen, Task Center as part of dashboards will actually give that as well. So the thing I want to talk about now then is self-development. This is something that Gary touched on and what our plans are. If you're going to develop dashboards yourself, these are the things that we think you should consider. An understanding of the business process and management objectives of your business. If you understand where your business is going and how it's going to get there, you'll understand the types of questions and answers that will need to be asked. Thinking in the terms of things like the management board pack. What is the board pack got to tell the people that are at the top of the tree, if you like, in your organisation? Make sure that you've got that information before you set off. The second thing we would recommend is that a super user of EMiR, I don't just mean somebody that can use EMiR, I mean somebody that understands what EMiR is capable of doing. It's okay that you've used EMiR maybe for the last 10 years in a certain way, but there are thousands of different options and things that we can turn on to make life easier. And if we make life easier in EMiR, your dashboards will sing. They are absolutely amazing. We also recommend the EDFG. Now, it's a forum. We try and keep them small, generally about 10 or 12 people, and we sit around and discuss. And it really focuses our minds, and we have this thing called the Trello board now, which you really must be shown at some point. The Trello board is kind of like our production board. It's where we put ideas, we formulate them, we move them to the next stage, they get put into the product. If you don't give us those ideas, if you don't attend these things, the things that you really want maybe won't get a look in. So get involved. If you can come along, it's great. The next thing you need is you need the time to learn Power BI. As I spoke to Jack about when he first joined Houghton, there's a million things he's got to do in life. His job as a finance director is to sit down and get all of the jobs in line, if you like, start to put business in order in his particular department. He's then got an idea of the type of reporting that he'd like to give to the management team. And Power BI needs a bit of learning. If you understand Excel and macros and those types of things, you're going to get on with Power BI okay. But be aware, this is not a product that has been stopped developed. It develops all the time. Next time you look at it, there's a better way of doing things. There are apps that we can tell you about to download within the product that give you extra features. And creating a community of users, you're going to get to know about those things easier. And the thing that's held people back in the past is that the EMiR table names are where the data is. And we've wrestled many different ways that even our developers have got to get involved to speak to people and say, where do you get your data from? One of the things I've heard positively is that the dashboards that we've created, the minute you start to use them, you can actually look in the back of there and it will see where we gave you the data. So if you're thinking about developing the quoting database or something, you can actually get in the back and have a look at how we've done it. So all that information is available, but like I say, put a bit of time in and it's all available. Now, if you're a person that's sitting in the audience thinking, I am scared right now, I don't want to stick my head in no computer, I haven't got the time, what I want to do is develop my business and speak to my clients, then no problem at all. We can develop these dashboards for you, and we've done this on many occasions. We've created dashboards for people in their production office on big screens. Tell us what you want, we can do it for you. The nice thing about this is it's developed by the hosted service team, so it's not going to affect or delay anything that goes on in EMiR development. We've got 3 guys that are capable and writing all that stuff for you. The other thing is, when you look at the standard dashboards we've already created, you can either have those amended, so things taken out, things added, or we can write from scratch. It's entirely up to you. And the number of hours it takes is not as many as you would think. Let me give you an example. When I was sitting in the office and we spoke about the CRM database, I think it was about 3 hours later when I actually got the first look at the CRM database and what it was capable of, the CRM dashboard. Then, of course, you start using it and you think, I could add this now, this would be useful, that slicer would be useful. And they do tend to be amended from time to time to make them even more useful. So don't be scared, ask the question and we'll give you a proper quotation. Now, there's a number of people that we've been working with for a long time. In fact, these people have been using Power BI longer than we have. And I just want to give you an idea of how other people are using reports within their organisations. Just a little bit about Haraquip. Paul, we had a conversation on the phone. I'll just give you an idea of Haraquip. Long-standing organisation. I believe they were using Sage before they used EMiR. So they've moved to EMiR. They've got their EMiR working for them. And now dashboards is something that's of use They're a pump distributor and repair company, and also they're a manufacturer of pumping systems. So the business continues to grow. I was talking about this report in CRM earlier. This was the thing that convinced Paul that, you know, dashboards are the way forward. The minute that you can put someone up in your office and it gives people information, they can't get away from it. It focuses the mind. Now, of course, when he looked at this report, he liked it, but of course it needed to go further. There's always more information that's required. Now, I'm very glad that he's been able to let me have examples of these reports, but I have to say, just in case you're worrying about the commercial information, it has all been changed just to make sure that it's, you know, it's just a representation of a report. I've changed the salespeople's names down the side, and in this particular report, this is an activity report on a big board, on a big TV in the sales and marketing department. If you take, for instance, people like marketing, they don't get involved with certain items, so there's blanks there. You know, people that hand over to the sales team. But there's a big team of people there, all doing different jobs and all being measured, if you like, in being able to visibly see what they're doing. Just take you through this quickly. Second panel in is dials. Paul's the first person to say to you that I don't agree with that. I don't want to know that we've made 200 phone calls and not spoken to anybody. I'm really interested in real conversations, decision-maker people. They're the ones that really count. His team disagrees. They kind of want that information at the moment. But we're working at the moment in CRM to put that differentiation in so that the calls is starting to make more sense. Then he's differentiating between QFUs. That's quote follow-ups. So he's already differentiating between the prospect calls and chasing quotes, because we all know if we chase quotes, we get those quotes in, the quicker we get those quotes in, the more business that we're going to make, the more profitable. We've got visits, orders, you know, it's all there as you've seen in other reports. And then I love this column, which is quotes, because we've got outstanding quotes. We've got 14 outstanding quotes there to discuss in a moment. And the killer for me is ART, average return time. The moment that you start looking at things and saying we can get it back to the customer quicker, it's got to make you more effective. I remember Paul, I forget what the exact figures were, but he says, you know, you can look at this information and say, you know, we're making an average of 135 calls, which is amazing really, because only 3 months ago, before the report, the average was about 85. By putting this information on the wall, we're really starting to focus information. And he likes, you know, in Power BI, you get a lot of these different graphical ways of seeing things. And the horseshoe is a good thing because, you know, red is obviously instantly telling you that things aren't right. We're moving into a yellow position, which is things are better, and we're smacking target in the green. You know, all of that information can be, you know, shown to you in pictures as well. One thing I wanted to say about mobile, Paul is an active person within his sales team. He's not just sitting there looking at the reports in the office. There's no reason why you can't take bits of your reports and just slap them straight onto your mobile phone. It's just a different format that you lay out in your dashboards. Remember the 14 quotes that are outstanding? I'm now looking at these 14 quotes. Don't worry, I've changed all the customer names. But I've now got 14 quotes, and I've got the salespeople who are doing these quotes, and my average return time is in my brain. I want to get them back really quickly. Have a look at Tom. You know what? Tom is out on site all week. He's never going to get these quotes done. Who can I allocate them to get them out of the office today? So remember, it's showing you that you've got a problem. You click on the problem. It's now showing you more detail about that problem so that you can actually take action before it becomes a problem. I almost said that in a very strange way, but you know, one more from Paul, because I could show you his reports all day. I think they're marvellous. Non-productive time. You know, in an organisation, if we start to assume, we can very easily make the wrong assumptions. We might say, do you know what, we need more people. We take more people on. Does it make us more profitable? Unlikely, because we don't really know. These reports are saying this is our non-productive time. Let's assess what's going on. How do we make this non-productive time more productive? If people are discussing it, looking at the detail, there might be ways of saving money here before we take on more people. That's the sort of thing that dashboards can give you. Yeah, just to say to Paul, there was all sorts of information. Lots of reports. Okay, the next part of the presentation, I had a word with Jack. Like I say, been using Power BI. Now, I didn't want to go into the same thing again and show you how he uses reports, but I want to bring up an issue with dashboards, which is all about everything is capable, but is it proper? When you offer information to people, does it hit them in the face and tell them exactly what they need to know? Or does it say, yeah, but does it ask more questions? Let's take a look at an example. Sorry, Houghton International. If you don't know Houghton International, very, very large company up in the northeast. Interestingly enough, as you'll see in the slides, working all over the world. Mechanical services, repairs, as you would expect. They are a coil manufacturer, and they are into rail sales. That is important. We'll talk about that in a minute. So here's a dashboard. Remember I said the dashboards we've written are modular and extension specific. Well, these ones are being specifically sent to the person that runs this part of the company. Quality, health, safety, environment. So it's got gas, electric. It's got non-conformance products. It's got injury. And if you notice that you're able to pull out a chart there, and you're able to say which part of people have been injured. Now, the question it does generate is, when you're sitting in a management meeting, what's the manager going to say about that? That's good information, but what does it tell me? What change can I make now from that bit of information to make our life better? How can I reduce injury from that information? And that's one thing you do have to consider. You have to understand or sit in that perceptual position of the person that's going to be asking the questions. Sometimes it's not about being graphical. Sometimes it's just about giving the information that's right. Another dashboard we were talking about in detail was the use of things like Google Maps. All of this stuff is an app within Power Apps. And there is a lot of information that is assumed. A lot of information that you'll be in your business, people will say something because they believe it to be true. Now, this is an organisation where, at the bottom, these are all customers. They normally have customer names on. Of course, I've removed those. And in the top corner is all the colours of the different countries that this company, Houghton, deals with around the world. So a salesman might say, yeah, I went to Canada. I've done really well in Canada. The profit there is really good. And they give you that information. But it's assumed. It's based on gut feel. It's not based on real life fact. So here's a piece of software that was written so that when you click on these countries, you can see the companies you're dealing with there. You can see the profitability of those companies. And when you see that information together, the assumptions often change. I remember part of the story with this one was it's okay saying we're making lots of money out of a South American company, but you might find it's just one company where in another country it might be 12 companies that the profit's been spread across. So when you're starting to look at information in your business, is it real? Is it assumed? Or is it something that people have had a gut feel for? If you're making decisions from gut feel, the chances are you could be wrong. In conclusion, dashboards are very, very flexible, and they're great for you to keep an eye on what's important in your business. If you take that first step and write down what is important and who needs to know it, you're already on the way to writing some great dashboards. They're totally tailored and delivered to the people that want it. There's no reason why in the future why your management board pack can't be created from everything in dashboards and it's delivered straight to the person. I've worked at companies before where we were talking about dot matrix printers last night. As a salesperson, 2 days before the end of the month, these things would rattle away in the office, all this folded paper, and all we would be caring about was where our commission report was in the middle of it. But the moment we had desktop reporting, we used to call it executive desktop, we'd go straight into the things that were important to us. And that's all my manager was doing, was clicking on activity, finding out what's come in, and then if he had any fear about anything, he would click on it again to get greater detail. And of course, you can deliver this information any way you want it. Directly to your mobile phone, direct to a tablet computer nowadays or your desktop.